Thanksgiving Day is just around the corner, and you may be putting the final touches together to get your Thanksgiving meal on the table.
Yeah, but before you do so, safety should be top of mind. According to the National Fire Association, Thanksgiving is the leading day of the year for home fires involving cooking equipment.
Yeah, and I sat down with a local doctor and the Rockford Fire Department to learn how you can stay safe.
About 50% of residential structure fires start from cooking.
We see a pretty significant uptick in burns during the holiday times.
Thanksgiving, a time where more people gather in the kitchen, but also when the risks for fire danger rise.
People this time of year are just stressed out about getting the food ready, and they're not thinking about all the safety concerns that come with it.
And a lot of factors don't help out much either.
Anytime people gather in large groups, and then there's any kind of large meals being cooked, anything that's going to be a little bit more involved, that takes a lot of multitasking, we do see an uptick in fires. And the reason for that is, if you're used to just doing one or two things in the kitchen at the same time and then maybe keeping an eye on one or two friends or relatives, now it's a larger gathering. Now you're cooking 7, 8 courses and you have a dozen people in your house.
Particularly during the holiday season, RFD sees more burns in children.
I have responded to some calls where kids have been burned by reaching up and grabbing pots, pans, cups. With a pot here, if I have heated liquid in there and the handle is here accessible to a smaller child who would reach up and grab it, then of course this can tip over and then we have that pour, kids end up getting burned. So we want to make sure people are doing is, if you do have a pot with a handle on it, go ahead and turn it so that the handle is over either the counter or the stove itself.
Also, remember to not leave the kitchen unattended, even if it's just for a short time. Now, sometimes you'll want a crispier or juicier Thanksgiving bird, and smoking or frying it might be the trick, but one simple mistake can have lasting effects.
Make sure it's outside, not under a roof. Same thing with smokers. You want to make sure that if you're running a smoker, that it's away from anything flammable, no combustible materials anywhere near it.
And most importantly, always thaw it out completely. Dr. Ahmed sees a lot of burn injuries this time of year.
We tend to see extremity and hand injuries very common, and I think people tend to think that you can touch something that's really hot even for a millisecond and not end up with a burn.
He recommends wearing loose clothing in the kitchen, make sure to set multiple timers for different dishes, and most importantly, don't drink alcohol if you are in the kitchen. And if you do injure yourself,
get it covered. Don't put ice water on it. Don't put ice on it. Use cool water. Get it covered with something clean and dry, and just come and see us.
Definitely lots of important tips to keep in mind there, and OSF shares that children can actually still help on Thanksgiving Day in other ways, such as staying away from the stove, like mixing ingredients or opening packages.
Lots to keep in mind as you put those turkeys in the oven.